Today I want to go through the digital garden that I started building in Notion last week. It is currently functional, but it still needs a lot of optimization. You know, the kind of optimization that comes with actually using the tool over a period of time. So just a brief introduction in case you're not familiar with digital gardening. What is it? So if you were to Google digital garden, the definition of it, you'll kind of come across two main sources or resources rather, Nest Labs and Maggie Appleton. So according to Nest Labs, a digital garden is an online space at the intersection of a notebook and a blog where digital gardeners share seeds of thoughts to be cultivated in public. And Maggie Appleton says that a garden is a collection of evolving ideas that aren't strictly organized by their publication date. Right, so two main takeaways that we can get just from these two definitions are: one, it's a collection of notes or ideas, thoughts that are in progress or that are not necessarily completed and polished like a blog post or an article. And two, that it is shared publicly. Right, so given that it is shared publicly, what are some of the tools that we can use to build or create or host our digital gardens? Most of these you will see are note-taking tools that can, yes, be shared publicly, and that also have the feature of bidirectional linking. This is so that once you get onto the digital gardening website, you can explore, you can click around and see, you kind of go on like a journey through these via the bidirectional linking. Right? So the main tools, now this of course is not an exhaustive list. There are lots of other tools that you can use, especially if you have knowledge of coding. You're way better off in being able to build a digital garden. This list is actually divided into the no coding types of apps, so the primarily note-taking applications, personal note-taking applications, and site builders, which are things that you require knowledge of code to do, right? So to begin with, Obsidian. It is a note-taking application. It uses markdown files that are stored locally on your computer, and there is a feature with that's called Obsidian Publish. So you can have your notes in Obsidian and choose which notes can be shared to your Obsidian Publish page, right? So here I have linked for each of these. I have some examples of digital gardens that are built using these tools or applications. I would have found these either by just Googling Obsidian or Roam Research digital garden, or via people that I would have interacted with on Twitter. So let's go to this first one, which is Joshua's Garden. Just gonna hide that sidebar. Right, so we can see here, this is a digital garden. On the left, this is sort of like a list of top level pages, or like almost like a table of contents. The middle space, we have a welcome sort of note with lots of different links that you can go to. And on the right hand side, we have an interactive graph. Very cool because you can see all of the different links visually. This is not a feature that you currently can get with something like Notion, but it is available for these outline applications like Obsidian and Roam Research. So in Joshua's Garden, you can see, you can click, let's click on Digital Garden, and we have a note essentially on digital gardening, right? That sounds a bit redundant. We can see a link to this image from Maggie Appleton because she really does have probably the most resources on digital gardening. But if we just go back, we can see more of, I guess, Joshua's personal sort of notes, recent notes. You know, it doesn't have to be anything fully fleshed out and finished. It can just be a few lines or a few words about a particular topic. Let's go to the next example, Curly's notes. This is another Obsidian one. As we can see, very clean, looks very nice, neat, organized. An about page is the first middle page here. We have the same kind of setup with an interactive graph here, but we have a dedicated table of contents, which is kind of just like the headings for this main page, the about page. And on the left, we can see different almost stages of notes for. So we can click into any of these. You know, some of them may have notes like this one. Some of them may not be completed yet. May just be a question with some notes on it, but we can go through and explore all of these different headings, as you can see here. All right, so moving back, let's go to Rome research. Two examples here again. We have Maggie Delano's digital garden, similar to Obsidian. Let's go to my workflows. We can see that we can hover over a link and it's going to show us the contents of that page. Let's go to weekly review. So this is we have the date here. This is actually really interesting. I think I'm going to go back here and kind of read through this. This is very cool. We can see all of these different links that we can click on and come to these different parts of this person's garden, right? Another one built in Rome, just to show you an example of the different layouts that you can have. This is Vlad Citalo. Oh, this is actually the creator of Room Garden, which is this tool that's being used to build this, I believe. So if you use Roam Research, you can kind of go through and see how you can implement this if you are interested in building a digital garden. Moving along to Notion. So of course, I'm going to get into my usage or how I built the digital garden in Notion in a bit. This is another example that I would have found online just after Googling it. Now, one of the things that Notion, I'll go through the kind of pros and cons, but one of the cons that I'm just going to point out here is, I mean, not this. This is very nice. You can see the links to different pages. But let's say we go into this note. You can see the backlinks up here. So this is all of the different things that are linked to this note. But as you would have seen before in Rome and Obsidian, there are links within the text of the note. Now, of course, you can link to different pages in Notion, but there aren't tags where you can link or reference different words per se that have a similar context in that note. I will show you what I mean exactly when I go to my notes, but Notion is great because it's very easy to use and you just literally have to click the share button and boom, your digital garden is online. You can easily send the link to anybody. Right, so let's go back here. Scrintal. So I have not used Scrintal to build my own digital garden. I wanted to try it out in Notion first because most of my notes were already inside of Notion. right? But I know that you can share a link. So this is a link to a board that I would have created in Scrintal. I would have shown this in my last video, but to get an idea of how it could be used as a digital garden, you can simply rename the board. You can have a list of links to the main parts of your garden. And it has the feature of the bidirectional linking to make a digital garden very functional. The only thing is that you won't be able to customize the link very nicely, like to just have like yourname.com just yet. But if you are a visual learner, I'm sure that Scrintal is a good idea, because you can click on these different links through cards and just have this nice experience visually with cards for your digital garden. I'm going to build the same digital garden that I currently have in Notion. I'll build it in Scrintal next, just to see how I will structure it and just to kind of play around and see how it goes. Right? So Scrintal is an option, although I haven't actually I have not actually seen any digital gardens that were built in Scrintal. It's a fairly new app, so that's most likely why. Moving on to these site builders for coda type people, right? This is the website that I would have actually heard about or kind of heard the term digital gardening used first. It's a website named Barnsworth Burning. So this is, I find, very cool. So the creator of the website is someone named Nick Trombley, and he essentially has this website with all of these, these are the areas, right? But everything that you see here includes things like creators and spaces. So you can see words, you can see names of persons, and of course, if you were to click on one of them, so let me click on connection, you can see coming up on the right here all of the notes that he has, which are linked to that word, that keyword connection, right? You can scroll through. There are also lots of other tags down here, lots of other connections down here. There's a lot to explore here. I think I spent like a good bit of time just kind of exploring the whole thing. But what interested me the most is that this is actually built, all of the information is stored and stored in Airtable. So if you click on what this site is, you can see Airtable stores the majority of the content for this site. And you can actually look at the database that he uses in Airtable to kind of have all the connections and everything. So it's something that you can even duplicate and use as a template, as you can see up there before I clicked out. Yeah, use as a template. You can use it for your own digital garden. But yes, you could use Airtable, but you still need the coding kind of knowledge to be able to bring it from this to what you would have just seen in his main website. But this is the kind of back end. This is, I should not use that term. I am not a coder, but this is the Airtable base that stores lots of the information that you will see on the main website. Right. So this is another great example. There are lots of other, site builders. I also came across via YouTube an example of Obsidian, example that you don't have to pay for. So you do have to pay for Obsidian Publish, right? It's $16 a month, billed annually. However, there is a free alternative if you have some experience with Git and GitHub. JIT and GitHub. I don't know how that's pronounced, but you can Google it, GIT or GIT Hub. Alrighty, moving along. So why did I choose Notion for my digital garden? Well, firstly, it is cost efficient for me. I already pay for a Notion Personal Pro plan. I'm not trying to really pay for anything else right now, like the Obsidian Publish or Roam Research is also a paid product. I'm not trying to pay for anything else right now, so Notion, being that I already have that subscription, I might as well try to build something in Notion if it can work, right? I really would have liked to use Obsidian, but again, I'm not really keen on paying for Obsidian Publish, and maybe I will kind of try to learn how to use. There are free alternatives. Maybe I'll try to learn how to use one of those. But for now, I'm going to use Notion mainly for the cost and because I'm very familiar with Notion. I've used it for years now and it's very easy to use for me. So let us get into how I have set up my digital garden in Notion. Okay, so here we are. This is the Notion setup that I have here. I'm going to go through each of these tabs, but first let's just start off with the basics of what it is. So this is a page. This is a page in Notion. I've titled the page Renee's Notebook, and I have here a call out with just an introductory sort of what this is about, and below that I have some inline linked databases, right? So this is a database. These are 3 views of one database. This is another database. This is another database that I have just linked inline onto this page. This page is shared via a link, so I may show you what that looks like actually in Notion. But this is how the link looks if you send it to someone. This is the shareable link. So the system spaces, I've renamed it index because it's kind of just a collection of high level or top level tags that are alphabetically sorted you can see the sort here. It's by name is ascending, so it is alphabetically sorted like most indexes are. But the reason why I have it like this is because I find it easier to navigate for myself, at least. It may not be the case for other people, but if I'm going to someone's digital garden or someone's public notes, I like to see, those topics that they talk about most frequently. That way I know if we have anything in common, and if I want to kind of just hop into, say I'm interested in consumerism, I want to hop in and see what links or what they have recorded, whether it's a resource, whether it's an initial thought. I kind of want to get that information right off the bat. I may change this. I can always put one of these first and that will show up initially once you click the link. But so far I just have this. This is a gallery view of this database, system spaces. And I also have one property shown here. So if we go, actually, before I go through, let me just give you like a full kind of overview of all of it. So this is the first one. Then Atoms is a separate database, and right now you're looking at a list view, and I'm showing some properties here, just kind of the stage that the note is in, as well as the system space, the high level tag that you would have seen before, and these are the notes themselves. Processing, still kind of working through this, but it's supposed to be almost like a pipeline of the note itself. Atom meaning an initial thought, idea, whether it's from myself or from a source, and it will start off here as an atom. Draft, maybe I'm thinking about it more, I've added in more detail. In progress, sort of a stage after that where I've maybe written some more about it or added a further step, completed, which is kind of like my overall thoughts on it. I'm not really using or interacting with it anymore, and archived for things that I'm not thinking about at the current moment. Right? Timeline is another linked view of that same atoms. All these three are linked views of the same atoms database, and it's just a calendar view to show all of the notes that I would have created on a particular day. Photos is a bit strange for a digital garden, I guess, but I wanted my digital garden to not only just be my thoughts and my ideas, but also a reflection of me and what I'm interested in. So I'm also interested in photography, taking pictures, especially nature type pictures. So I've just linked some of those there, and hopefully I can populate it over time. Collections is something that I'm experimenting with, but the idea behind it is that, so I would have things like a library, meaning list of books that I'm interested in or reading, if you click on it. So currently reading books, as well as these other categories. I'm still contemplating if I should just do all of the books in a database itself as opposed to this page inside of the database, just because I'll have more sort of flexibility with the tagging and with the properties. But for now, I just kind of wanted to see the books on a page, like in a list. So that's why I have here, and I can click on this and see any atomic kind of notes that I would have made or any related notes to it. I can also add notes here as well. Right, so if we go back here, let's start back from the index. So I'm just going to show you the actual database for these spaces. If we go to all, most of my databases have all because I just like to see one view that has everything without any hidden properties or anything like that, which is usually I have it as a table view. Right, so we have the name of this space. These atoms would be the notes that I have made related to this space. I have a roll-up property which just counts all of these, which counts the number of nodes per space. And this is a formula that just adds the, well, you can't see it here because I'm not in the actual I'm not in my actual Notion where it's editable, but this is just a formula that has the number of notes plus literally the letters for notes so that it can show up on the home page in the index, how you would have seen it like this. And that is essentially all it is for system spaces. Atoms, we can come here, and this is you'll see all of the different properties that I have for each of these atomic notes. I have a source property, which is a relation to the source database. The source database, I wanted it to differentiate the source of the material from my actual notes on it, whether it's just quotes or my own actual notes that I would have written on the material. Still toying around with this because it has both the name of this is a book, it has both the name of the book and the author. I would like to have it separate, but for now, this just makes it easy for me to type it in quickly. Right, the related space, I have some tags because I do plan to filter things out in more detail, maybe with some other database views in the future. So I want to know that this is from this movie, this note is from this movie, and it's a quote that I would have recorded. Connections, children, and parent. Now, as you can see, I don't really have anything. Okay, I do have some parents here, some children. This is where I guess like in how Obsidian and Rome will have these, you can do the bidirectional linking, and it will show you what would have been linked to. In Notion, I use the relation property because it doesn't have that exact feature. It does have backlinks, but it doesn't work in the same way that it does for Obsidian or Roam. It doesn't show up. Not that it doesn't work, it does work in the same way. It just doesn't show up that way in the layout that you would see. So initially I had parent and child, and the idea was if I have this, I made this note, right, from this video, and the actual video would be the parent, right? So that's the ideology behind media and advertising. This is sort of a child note. I labeled it as a connection, but it's sort of it is a child of this, because this is the main source, right? You can see that I have here children. So this will make a lot more sense if you were to go into this. So this is the source, this is the video, and we can see here children. So these are some ideas that would have come out of this main note. One is another quote from this, and I also have quotes directly that I would have made from the video in the page. And then another child would be my own notes on just kind of alternatives that I started to explore for social media. But that is how I was exploring the parent-child relationship. And I added in connections recently because I realized some things aren't a parent and some things aren't a child. Well, some things aren't a parent. You can have a child from a parent, but it's kind of hard to have a parent from nothing. I'm still working through this part, as you can see. But so far, the most important thing is that I can click on this and I can see here in this page the parent, so where it came from, and I can also see any other connections. I would not have put any children because I didn't have any ideas that came from the allure of drugs and entertainment. I hope that is clear. If not, then I can go back over that as I start to flesh it out myself as well. These are the last three properties for this database. Just the created date and time, last edited date and time, and the stage, as I would have explained, that you could have seen in the processing tab of the initial space. All right, now that we are back here, so processing, as I said, this is just another view of the same information from the atoms. The same with timeline, it's just this is a board view and this is a calendar view. For the photos, I mean the gallery database itself, it's just the same photos. I don't have any metadata really. I don't have a title. It's just the photos. And well, connections, I do plan to have more things here, but so far it's just the library. And that is essentially it for how I did this digital garden in Notion. The main database is the atoms database with these connection properties linking the nodes together, so that how you actually maneuver with it. So if you come to the link, you have your two options. You can either come here to the index. If anything shouts out to you, you can click on it and you can see, okay, there's a video on Terence McKenna. There's a note on this from Terence McKenna, and then we also have some notes on the ideology behind media and advertising. And I can click here, I see that this is a video. There are some quotes from the video. I can also see that there are some children notes or some child notes which link to other ideas. If I'm done with reading through this, I can just come back and move through different parts of the garden. But as you can see, not everything will have connected notes. So that's the kind of in progress aspect that we would have talked about initially. All right. You can also just come here and see if anything jumps out to you. I just find it's easier and it's better if you have a high level tag to start off from. But yeah, that is essentially it. Once I kind of sort through the workflow for the atoms to kind of fine tune what is defined as a child, parent, and connections, if I'm going to keep this or not, I will make this a template that anyone can duplicate if they want to try this layout for digital gardening in Notion. All right. What I will do, that's it essentially for now. I am excited about trying Scrintal, so doing the same setup in Scrintal. I think that's what I'm going to do next week, and most likely Workspace Wednesday will focus on Scrintal for this similar digital gardening setup. That's it for now. If you have a digital garden, please let me know in the comments. And